5 years of 65-hour weeks at Brooks Financial, never missed a deadline. Then, the Wednesday I was set to finalize the biggest portfolio restructure of my career, $8.5 million for Anderson Tech, I was fired by the founder's daughter, Talia Brooks. Her only qualification? DNA. She handed my accounts to her sorority sister Sloan, who couldn't tell a mutual fund from a hedge fund. What she didn't realize, those 32 high-net-worth clients stayed because of me, and she'd just lit the fuse on her own downfall. I'm Brody Mitchell, 34. I'd sacrificed everything to become Brooks's top advisor. That morning was routine. Coffee at 6:15, office by 6:45, and triple-checking a 4-month rebalancing plan. At 9:23, a Slack message from Talia. Office, now. She'd been named COO 8 weeks earlier, bypassing every qualified candidate for someone whose last job was managing her trust fund in the Hamptons. Her new office, stripped of Bloomberg terminals filled with Instagrammable furniture and cursive quotes. She ignored me for a full minute, then gestured to a comically low chair. "We need to talk about cultural alignment," she said, examining her nails. "Team synergy, the firm's new direction. I'd brought in the most revenue of any non-partner for 3 years, 96% client satisfaction. But okay, let's talk synergy." "You're adequate," she said, as if it were an insult. "But we need fresh energy, people who don't cling to outdated methods like fundamental analysis. Are you firing me? Today's your last day." She slid over an NDA, a non-compete, and 4-month severance if I disappeared quietly. "Sloan will handle the transition." "Sloan doesn't have her Series 65. She can't legally give investment advice." "That's no longer your problem," she smiled. 90 minutes to pack, and Brody? Say one word about clients or strategies, and Daddy's lawyers will bury you. I walked back through the office, colleagues suddenly glued to their screens. Poison. I grabbed my personal laptop, my phone, the one clients called at 2 a.m., my journals, and even the world's okayest advisor mug. What I couldn't box up, 5 years of trust, credibility, and relationships Brooks never valued. As security watched me leave, I thought of Linda Anderson, how she'd asked for me by name, invited me to her son's graduation, and had no idea her $8.5 million would now be managed by someone who thought diversification meant owning Apple and Microsoft. I signed their papers, surrendered my badge, and walked out past the founder's portrait. I wasn't mourning what I'd lost. I was counting what they'd forgotten I still owned. By 1:47 p.m., I was in my home office, dress shirt still on, apartment silent, no Anderson meeting, just unemployment. But clarity came fast. I opened my laptop and listed what was truly mine. 1. My systems, portfolio templates, risk, frameworks, client protocols, never uploaded to Brooks's servers, created on my time, stored in my cloud, my IP. 2. My relationships, 32 names in my phone, Linda Anderson, Jeffrey Barnes, Elena Vasquez, CEOs who had my number because Brooks's official lines took 3 days to reply. These weren't networking event handshakes. These were people who texted me market panic questions at midnight, who asked about their kids' college planning, and who trusted me because I'd proven myself reliable during the 2020 market chaos. 3rd, institutional knowledge. I created a spreadsheet listing every active account, every investment preference, and every client personality quirk. The Andersons required quarterly reviews, never monthly. Linda hated micromanagement. The Barnes family wanted socially responsible investments only, even if returns suffered slightly. Elena Vasquez had a tax loss harvesting strategy I'd personally designed that saved her $47,000 last year, details absent from any file. Context is impossible to transfer in a 90-minute handoff to someone whose investment philosophy came from TikTok financial influencers. My phone buzzed. Dylan, my former supervisor. "Just heard. Unbelievable. Talia says Sloan's taking your book. This is insane." I didn't respond. The NDA was vague about personal communications, and I wouldn't risk it, but Dylan's text confirmed what I suspected. Chaos was brewing. I pulled up the CFP board website. The non-compete Talia forced me to sign was 12 months, but non-competes in Illinois were increasingly unenforceable, especially for wrongful termination, especially when replacement with an unqualified candidate demonstrated bad faith. Being fired to accommodate the boss's friend? That qualified. I listed what I couldn't do: directly solicit Brooks' clients, share confidential account data, and publicly criticize the firm. Then I listed what I could do: maintain personal friendships, operate as an independent consultant, utilize my own intellectual property, and respond when contacted. The distinction mattered critically. I couldn't call Linda Anderson about her portfolio, but what if Linda Anderson called me? Completely different situation. By 4 p.m., I'd converted my spare bedroom into an operations center. 5 years of accumulated expertise spread across the desk, not client files. Those belonged to Brooks, but my personal notes, my frameworks, and my analytical systems that made me indispensable. Or so I'd believed. I registered a new domain, mitchellwealthstrategies.com, not a competing firm, just professional presence. Updated my LinkedIn, independent financial consultant and fiduciary advisor. Then I waited. The first text arrived at 6:18 p.m. Linda Anderson. Brody, this Sloan person just asked if we should YOLO into crypto. Please tell me you're coming back. I stared at the screen. Technically, discussing the Anderson account violated the NDA, but expressing concern for a friend's distress? I'm no longer with Brooks Financial as of today. I hope your portfolio transition goes smoothly. Her reply was instant. What? Call me immediately. I'm bound by certain agreements. I can't discuss specifics. Can you discuss anything? Over lunch? As friends? I smiled genuinely for the first time all day. As friends, absolutely. By 9 p.m., 7 other clients had messaged. Word traveled fast in Chicago's wealth management circles. Each carefully worded response clarified. I was gone, I was restricted, but I existed and was available. Talia Brooks thought she'd eliminated a redundant employee. She'd sent company-wide emails about exciting new directions and fresh energy, probably drafted by the same AI that Sloan used for financial projections. What she didn't grasp, what 3 generations of Brooks leadership never understood, was that modern wealth management wasn't about the firm's brand recognition. It was about the 2 a.m. market crash calls, the crisis guidance, and the trusted voice who actually understood municipal bond lettering. They had the office space, the letterhead, and the founder's name. I had everything that actually mattered. 4 days into unemployment, I sat across from Leonard Shaw in a conference room smelling of expensive coffee and leather. Shaw and Partners occupied 3 floors downtown, close enough to Brooks Financial to share the same restaurants, distant enough to avoid direct competition. Brody Mitchell. Leonard studied me over his reading glasses. I've been wondering when you'd finally leave that disaster. I'd contacted Leonard through a mutual connection, carefully framing it as market exploration, not job hunting, that might violate the non-compete spirit. Just 2 finance professionals discussing industry trends over coffee. The fact we'd relocated from Starbucks to his office was his initiative. I'm considering independent consulting, I said carefully. Perhaps autonomous client work. Independent work. He smiled knowingly. With your client relationships. I maintain personal connections with many Chicago executives and families. Those relationships persist regardless of employment status. Leonard was 68, had built his practice from nothing, and understood exactly what I wasn't explicitly stating. Shaw and Partners had 18 advisors to Brooks's 87, but they'd survived 35 years through intelligence, not volume. Hypothetically, he said, if Shaw and Partners engaged an independent consultant, not an employee, understand, someone with extensive portfolio management experience and established client trust, how might that arrangement function? Hypothetically, such an arrangement would respect any existing contractual obligations, no direct solicitation, no confidential information sharing. But if clients independently sought that consultant, they'd require representation and fiduciary guidance. Leonard poured water from a glass pitcher. Talia Brooks contacted me yesterday. Warned me about a former employee who might violate non-compete agreements. Suggested any firm assisting you would face aggressive litigation. My chest tightened. And I told her Shaw and Partners doesn't respond favorably to intimidation, particularly empty threats from trust fund beneficiaries playing business executive. He leaned forward. Here's my proposal. Shaw and Partners brings you aboard as an independent consultant, not an employee. Keeps you clear of the non-compete. You manage your own client relationships and develop your own practice. We provide infrastructure, E&O insurance, and crucially, legal protection when Brooks inevitably attacks. What's your percentage? 35% of fees. That's substantial, I know, but it includes comprehensive litigation support. And trust me, Brody, they will come after you. 35% was steep, but it beat 0% of nothing. I need to consider it. Naturally. But don't deliberate too long. Talia Brooks is inexperienced, insecure, and frightened. That's a volatile combination. I left Shaw and Partners at 3:45 p.m. with Leonard's offer documented. Waiting for the elevator, my phone exploded with notifications. Linda Anderson. The portfolio review meeting was catastrophic. Sloan suggested we day trade our retirement accounts. Board members walked out. Jeffrey Barnes. Need to talk urgently. Something's wrong with our ESG allocations. Elena Vasquez. Brody, please confirm you're practicing somewhere. This is an emergency. And surprisingly, from an unknown number. Mr. Mitchell, I'm CFO at Redwood Capital Group. Elena Vasquez recommended I contact you. Are you accepting new clients? Redwood Capital, $14 billion in assets, never a Brooks client, never even on our prospect list. I sat in my car in the parking garage, engine silent, reading the messages. The cautious approach was waiting out the non-compete period, starting fresh in 12 months. But I kept thinking about Linda's text. Board members walked out. An $8.5 million portfolio I'd spent months optimizing, destroyed in 4 days by someone whose investment strategy came from cryptocurrency Twitter. I thought about the other accounts in transition, clients who didn't realize their life savings were now managed by someone who thought portfolio rebalancing meant checking Robinhood once a week. I called Leonard Shaw. That was quick, he answered. I accept. With conditions, I won't solicit Brooks's clients directly, but when they contact me, I'll provide proper fiduciary guidance. If Brooks wants litigation, they'd better bring more than daddy's lawyers and empty intimidation. Welcome to Shaw and Partners, Brody. Can you start Monday? I can start right now. I have 7 families needing legitimate financial advice and 1 potential client who's never worked with Brooks Financial. Leonard laughed warmly. I like your style. Come back tomorrow morning. We'll get you credentialed properly. And, Brody, document absolutely everything. Every text, every call, every client who reaches out independently. We'll need that evidence. I hung up and posted a simple LinkedIn update. Excited to announce I'm now consulting with Shaw and Partners, looking forward to continuing trusted relationships and new opportunities. Within 2 hours, 51 reactions, 4 private messages, and 3 former colleagues reaching out about joining me. Word traveled instantaneously in financial services circles, especially when desperation was involved. I didn't respond to any messages from current Brooks clients, not yet. But I did reply to Redwood Capital, scheduling a Friday meeting. My phone rang. Unknown Chicago number. Brody, thank God. Linda Anderson sounded stressed. I know you can't discuss Brooks's business. I'm not calling about that. I'm calling because Redwood Capital needs wealth management services, and I told them you're Chicago's best advisor. That's just friendly professional advice, right? Just professional courtesy between friends, I agreed. Perfect, because as a friend, I might mention your name to several other executives who've been complaining about their current advisory services. The line went quiet. We both understood the subtext clearly. I appreciate the referrals, Linda. Likewise. Oh, and Brody, Talia Brooks is completely incompetent. That's not business commentary. Just one friend's honest opinion. She disconnected before I could respond. Sitting in my car as garage lights flickered on automatically, I watched the sunset through concrete levels. 4 days ago, I'd been terminated for insufficient team synergy. Now I had a new firm, legal protection, and clients literally creating opportunities without any solicitation from me. Talia Brooks wanted innovation and disruption. She was about to experience both firsthand. The first crack appeared at 2:47 a.m. on a Sunday. I was reviewing updated SEC regulations on fiduciary standards, the tedious compliance reading most advisors avoided, but that separated professionals from amateurs. My phone lit up. Elena Vasquez. Brody, I know it's late, but I just received a notice from the IRS, something about improper tax loss harvesting. Our current advisors say it's routine, but the potential penalty is 6 figures. Can you review this? Current advisors meant Brooks Financial. Send the notice. No charge for a friend's peace of mind. The document arrived immediately. Standard IRS inquiry about wash sale violations. I'd seen dozens. Scanning Elena's notice, the problem was obvious. Her new advisor had repurchased substantially identical securities within the 30-day wash sale window, completely negating the tax benefits I'd carefully structured. It was exactly the kind of error I'd warned about in a firm-wide training session 9 months ago. A training session Talia had skipped for a yoga retreat. Elena, you need specialized tax counsel immediately. This isn't routine. The IRS is citing wash sale violations that could cost you $73,000 in disallowed losses plus penalties. Can you fix it? I can coordinate with Shaw and Partners' tax team, but you need to act fast. The response deadline is Thursday. I'm calling our board attorney right now. Expect documentation first thing tomorrow. By 9 a.m. Monday, Elena's family office had officially retained Shaw and Partners for emergency tax remediation. Their first action, requesting all documentation from Brooks Financial regarding previous tax planning. The files Brooks provided were embarrassingly inadequate, outdated worksheets, generic templates, and zero evidence of the customized strategy I'd implemented over 3 years. Leonard Shaw appeared in my new office at 10:45, grinning. Brooks's consultant just called and asked if we had a template thing for wash sale rules. I told her we practice professional wealth management, not copy-paste advice. That consultant is managing 32 family accounts. 31. Vasquez just formally terminated Brooks, conflict of interest. Can't have the firm that created the problem fixing it. I spent the next 60 hours working with Shaw's tax attorneys to rebuild Elena's strategy. We filed the IRS response with 18 hours remaining, avoiding $73,000 in penalties plus interest. Elena called Friday afternoon. Brody, you just saved us more than Brooks charged in 3 years. I'm recommending Shaw and Partners to every family office in my network. I appreciate that. No buts. I'm informing my peers about exceptional advisory services. What they do with that information is their decision. The second domino was already teetering. Jeffrey Barnes discovered similar issues, not tax problems this time, but ESG compliance failures. Another regulatory change, another outdated Brooks template, another 6-figure exposure. By the following Monday, I'd created what I called the Fiduciary Alert System. Anonymous notifications sent to general business contacts about common compliance gaps. No client data, no proprietary information, just public service announcements regarding regulatory changes affecting Chicago investors. You're playing dangerous games, Leonard cautioned, reviewing my carefully drafted alerts. Brooks will claim you're using insider knowledge. Every regulation I'm citing is publicly available. Every deadline is published by the SEC and IRS. If Brooks's clients realize their current advisors aren't maintaining basic compliance standards, that's Brooks' failure, not my interference. He approved the alerts. Send them. The exodus began gradually, an inquiry here, a consultation request there. Corporate speak for our current advisors are incompetent, and we're terrified. Dylan texted me updates from inside Brooks. Emergency partner meeting. Talia is screaming about betrayal. Sloan quit yesterday. 4 advisors resigned this morning. I didn't respond, but archived every message, documentation, like Leonard said. Wednesday brought the inevitable news. Brooks Financial filed cease and desist orders against me personally and Shaw and Partners as a firm, violation of non-compete tortious interference, misappropriation of trade secrets, and the standard playbook. Leonard assembled our legal team in the main conference room. They're claiming you're using proprietary Brooks methodologies to steal clients. What methodologies? I pulled up my laptop. These are my frameworks, my analysis tools, created on personal time, stored on personal devices, time-stamped years before Talia Brooks knew what a fiduciary standard was. Our lead attorney, Christine Odom, smiled. Can you prove Brooks never requested these be transferred to their systems? Better. I have emails where I offered to implement firm-wide improvements and was told it wasn't a priority. Richard Brooks himself said, quote, "Why change what's working?" It's not working now, Leonard said. 6 clients have transferred this week, 24 more requested proposals. At this rate, Brooks loses 60% of their high net worth practice by year end. The conference phone buzzed, Leonard's assistant. Mr. Shaw, Talia Brooks is here demanding an immediate meeting. Leonard looked at me questioningly. Wouldn't miss it. Send her in. The door opened. Talia Brooks stood there, business suit wrinkled, hair less perfectly styled than usual, looking nothing like the confident executive who'd fired me 3 weeks ago. You, she pointed at me, hand trembling. You destroyed everything. 32 clients, Brody. 32. Ms. Brooks, Christine interrupted smoothly, any communication should go through counsel. Forget lawyers. He knows what he did. Sabotage, client theft, and corporate espionage. Looking forward to discovery, Christine said calmly, particularly examining why Mr. Mitchell was terminated and who replaced him, including that person's qualifications and credentials. Talia's face went pale. Discovery meant depositions under oath about Sloan. This isn't finished, she said weakly. Your father built a respectable firm over 40 years, Leonard said. You dismantled it in 8 weeks. Mr. Mitchell simply refused to be collateral damage. Now, unless you have legitimate legal business, leave my office. Talia left, the door closing quietly this time. No dramatic exit. Christine turned to me. She's panicking. Panicked people make catastrophic errors. Continue exactly what you're doing. That afternoon, 4 more clients contacted me, not about compliance issues, but because they'd heard about Talia's meltdown. Word traveled fast in wealth management circles. Professional services depended on one thing above everything: trust. And Talia Brooks had just demonstrated to 32 families exactly whom they'd been trusting with their retirement futures. The emergency Brooks Financial Board meeting started at 7 a.m. sharp on Thursday. I knew because Dylan watched from the parking lot, providing live updates. Complete chaos, he texted. Senior partners demanding explanations, Talia blaming everyone except herself. I was in my Shaw and Partners office preparing for client meetings when Christine knocked. Thought you'd want to see this. She handed me a printout from a Financial Advisor magazine. The headline read, Brooks Financial losing clients amid leadership crisis. The article was devastating. Anonymous sources discussing the firm's turmoil, clients questioning sudden departures, buried in paragraph 5. Sources indicate multiple affluent families have received compliance violations, potentially costing hundreds of thousands, raising serious questions about advisory competence. My phone buzzed. Linda Anderson. Board meeting in 2 hours, discussing permanent advisor change. Thought you should know. I set the phone down carefully. Linda was being strategic. Board discussions were confidential. But if Anderson Tech was considering changes, she'd need alternatives ready. At 11 a.m., I was reviewing portfolio analyses when Leonard appeared with someone unfamiliar, a distinguished man in his 60s. Brody, meet Jonathan Whitmore from Redwood Capital. Jonathan, Brody Mitchell. I stood, shaking hands with the CFO of one of Illinois' largest investment firms, the new client Linda had mentioned. Mr. Mitchell, Jonathan said, studying me carefully. I've heard remarkable things. 32 families can't all be mistaken. I maintain strong professional relationships, I said carefully. Skip the careful language. I've been in finance for 45 years. I recognize strategic repositioning when I see it. The question is, can you handle what's coming? What's coming? Brooks is desperate. They've retained Carmichael and Stone to sue you, Shaw and Partners, and any client who switches. Tortious interference, conspiracy, client theft. The full arsenal. Carmichael and Stone, the firm that defended pharmaceutical companies and predatory lenders. When you hired them, you weren't seeking justice, you were seeking destruction. We're prepared, Leonard said. We've documented every client contacting us independently. Documentation won't matter when they bury you in motions, Jonathan said. Carmichael will file in multiple jurisdictions, demand expedited hearings, and essentially bankrupt you with legal fees. Why are you telling us this? I asked. Because Redwood needs new wealth management partners, and I don't appreciate intimidation. Talia Brooks called our CEO yesterday and threatened any company hiring you would be named in lawsuits. Claimed you possess stolen proprietary strategies, giving unfair competitive advantages. My stomach dropped. What did your CEO say? That Redwood doesn't negotiate with amateurs, Jonathan grinned. Then he authorized me to retain Shaw and Partners immediately, full wealth management services, 7-year contract. Leonard actually gasped. Redwood would be Shaw's largest client by a substantial margin. There's more, Jonathan continued. I've discussed this with my counterparts at other firms. We're creating what we're calling the Fiduciary Defense Alliance. Any company sued for changing advisors will have their legal costs covered by the group. A union for corporations? I asked. Strength in numbers also sends a clear message. Come after one of us, fight all of us. By 1 p.m., 13 companies had joined the alliance. By 3 p.m., 19. Brooks's response was swift and predictable. At 4:22 p.m., a process server arrived with multiple lawsuits. Shaw and Partners named in 4 actions across 2 jurisdictions. I was personally named in 3. Christine assembled our litigation team. They're throwing everything possible at us. RICO claims, conspiracy, theft of trade secrets, even intentional infliction of emotional distress. Emotional distress? I read through the complaint. Talia Brooks claims I caused her severe psychological trauma by being competent. It's a scare tactic, but defending multiple suits will be expensive. Not if the alliance covers it, Jonathan interrupted, walking in uninvited. We've retained Morrison & Black as outside counsel. They're handling all defense. Morrison & Black didn't just defend lawsuits, they annihilated them. Having them on our side was bringing overwhelming force to a minor skirmish. Additionally, Jonathan continued, we're filing our own action, defamation, business disparagement, abuse of process. Talia Brooks made recorded threats to multiple CEOs. That's actionable. Leonard looked at me. This is escalating beyond initial expectations. I thought about Talia in her redesigned office, firing me because I didn't fit her innovation vision. I thought about Sloan, probably job hunting as another portfolio collapsed. I thought about 32 families who'd trusted me with their financial futures, now scrambling to protect themselves from incompetent advice. Let it escalate, I said. Talia wanted disruption. She's about to learn what that actually means. Jonathan smiled. I like him, Leonard. No wonder Linda speaks so highly. My phone vibrated. Dylan again. Emergency meeting just ended. Rumor is Richard Brooks is coming out of retirement. This is catastrophic. I showed the text to Christine. Richard Brooks, the founder. If he's returning, this isn't about lost clients anymore. This is about survival. Too late, Jonathan said, checking his phone. Just received confirmation. 4 more families filed termination letters this afternoon. That's 21 total in under 4 weeks. The conference room phone rang. Leonard's assistant. Mr. Shaw, Richard Brooks is online too, says it's urgent. We all exchanged glances. The founder himself. Put him through, Leonard said, activating the speaker. Leonard, the voice was older but authoritative. Is Mitchell there? I'm here, Mr. Brooks. Long pause. What would it take to stop this? I'm not sure I understand. Don't be coy. My firm is dying. My daughter is incompetent, but it's still my name on that building. What do you want? I looked at Leonard, who nodded permission. I want nothing, Mr. Brooks. Your clients are making independent decisions. This is coordinated revenge. This is consequences. Your daughter fired me to give my position to her unqualified friend. Did you know Sloan doesn't have a Series 65? She can't legally provide investment advice. Silence. Then, I'll handle Talia. Come back. Full partnership, your own team, whatever you want. It's too late for that. It's never too late. I built this firm from nothing. I won't watch it collapse. You should have considered that before retiring and leaving it to someone who thinks wealth management is about personal branding and social media presence. Mitchell, goodbye, Mr. Brooks. I disconnected. The room was silent until Jonathan started laughing. That was perfect. The old man himself begging. He'll fight harder now, Christine warned. Wounded pride is dangerous. Let him fight, I said. Every lawsuit, every threat, every desperate maneuver just proves what everyone already knows. Brooks Financial is finished. They just haven't accepted it yet. My phone exploded with notifications, more clients reaching out, more families joining the alliance, and more dominoes falling. Talia Brooks had wanted to transform her father's firm. Mission accomplished. She'd just never specified transformation into what. 5 months later, I stood in my corner office at Shaw & Partners, watching the sunset paint Chicago's skyline in gold and amber. Brooks Financial's building was dark, a foreclosure notice visible in the lobby where Richard Brooks's portrait once hung. My assistant knocked. Mr. Mitchell, your 6-0 is here. I turned, expecting another prospective client. Instead, Richard Brooks walked in, looking healthier than during our last confrontation. Retirement apparently suited him, even under forced circumstances. Brody. He nodded, taking in my office, the CFP certifications, the client appreciation awards, and the success he'd fired me from achieving at his firm. Mr. Brooks, this is unexpected. May I sit? I gestured to the client chairs, equal height to my desk, no power games here. I owe you an apology, he began. You don't owe me anything. I do. I built that firm on one principle. Take care of your advisors, they'll take care of your clients. Somewhere I forgot that. Let Talia forget it. When I retired, I knew she wasn't ready, but I thought the firm's foundation was strong enough to survive her learning curve. It might have been, I said, if she'd been willing to learn instead of replace competence with connections. Richard smiled sadly. You know the ironic part? The day before she fired you, I called from Arizona and told her to promote you to junior partner, said you were the firm's future. I kept my expression neutral, but internally, something twisted. Junior partner would have changed everything. What did she say? That you were too rigid, too focused on compliance, and that the firm needed fresh perspectives. He laughed bitterly. Fresh perspectives. Her friend couldn't even explain what an expense ratio was. We sat quietly for a moment. I didn't come just to apologize, Richard finally said. I came to thank you. Thank me for ending it? For ending it cleanly. You could have let us spiral for years, bleeding clients and credibility. Instead, you gave us a quick dissolution, merciful in its way. I didn't do it for mercy. I know, but the result was the same. The advisors landed safely. The clients got proper representation. Even Talia learned something, though it cost her everything. He stood to leave and paused at the door. My father told me when I started the firm, finance is about trust. Clients trust you with their dreams. Advisors trust you with their careers. Break that trust, and you're not a professional. You're just a con man with credentials. Wise advice. I forgot it. Talia never learned it. But you understood it from the start. That's why they followed you. Not because you stole them, but because you never broke faith. He left without another word. I returned to the window, watching the city lights flicker on. 32 families had trusted me with their futures. Now I had my own team, 4 advisors and 2 analysts, chosen for competence, not connections. My phone buzzed, a text from Sloan. Mr. Mitchell, I know I have no right to ask, but I'm starting an MBA in finance. Would you consider mentoring? I stared at it. The woman who'd bungled portfolios I'd spent years perfecting now wanted my guidance. I started to delete it, then remembered Richard's words about trust and second chances. Send me your program details. We'll discuss it over coffee. Because wealth management was never about revenge. It was about building something worth protecting, and protecting it with everything you had. Talia's firm was gone, reduced to a cautionary tale. But the relationships I'd built, the trust I'd earned, those thrived. My assistant knocked. "Mr. Mitchell, the partnership announcement is ready. They're waiting." I smiled. 3 weeks ago, the partners voted unanimously. Chicago was about to learn that the advisor fired for lacking vision would now run one of its fastest-growing firms. "Tell them I'll be right there." On my way to the conference room, I passed the framed Financial Advisor magazine article. Shaw and Partners posts record growth, success attributed to client-centric philosophy. No mention of Brooks Financial, no mention of Talia's collapse. History, I'd learned, is written by those who survive and build something better from the wreckage. The room was packed with new advisors, young, eager, and full of potential. I saw myself in them, capable but untested. "Good evening," I began. "The most important lesson in this profession isn't about beating the market. It's about trust. Lose that, and you lose everything. Maintain it, and you'll build something that outlasts any quarterly report." I thought of Talia, likely out of the industry, of Richard in forced retirement, of Sloan finally seeking real knowledge, and of the 32 families who followed me into uncertainty. We didn't steal clients, I often say, we just refused to fail them. That was the heart of it, not destruction, but fidelity. Talia wanted to disrupt the industry. She succeeded, just not as she imagined. She disrupted her own firm into oblivion, teaching everyone what not to do. My phone buzzed one last time. Linda Anderson. "Brody, our portfolio just hit all-time highs. Thank you for not giving up on us. You saved more than our investments. You saved our trust in advisors. I saved it to a folder labeled Why This Matters. Because after 5 years, 32 clients, and one spectacular implosion, I knew the truth. Success in wealth management was never about marble lobbies or big names. It was about showing up, doing the work, and never, ever breaking faith. Talia learned that the hard way. Richard forgot it temporarily. But I built my career on it, and in the end, that made all the difference. Thank you for listening to this story of professional redemption. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and share your thoughts. What would you have done in Brody's position? Let's discuss in the comments.